Thank you very much, Deputy Prime Minister. I know it's a very busy day and maybe a bit busier for you because your president, Zelensky, who was originally not going to come to World Economic Forum, he's now here. I think he's meeting with the president in a little while, President Trump.
No, first and foremost, initially, so that our president planned to participate in World Economic Forum. The only problem that we have is that Russia shelled our cities again. You know that Ukraine now has one of the severest winters, so that the temperature is like -15, -20, and Russia deliberately destroys electricity, district heating, and water supply. So tries to kill our cities and create humanitarian catastrophes and everywhere, in Kiev, in Dnipro, in Kharkiv, Odessa, all big cities that have more than 1 million inhabitants. So that's why President decided to shorten his program. But today there are two elements: is the meeting with President Trump and also the events in the World Economic Forum. So that's also meeting with energy companies who can help us with repairment of energy system.
But there was a suggestion that your president was also not wanting to come unless there was clear progress, either in signing the security guarantees for Ukraine or in the so-called prosperity package from the US, the $800 billion. Is there any progress on either of those?
There is a progress since we had a lot of talks both on prosperity and security, so that we negotiated three of us, the United States, Ukraine, and the European Union. We provisionally designed the document on prosperity, which is rather like a policy document explaining the further work streams and to-do list for next at least 100 days. On how to deploy this prosperity infrastructure. For security, there were as well talks between a Ukrainian team and US team yesterday, and these talks will continue. So that's why the progress is there. I don't think that we are ready for signing the document. It means all of us, yes. So that since there is no position of Russian Federation, and their position is important, since we are talking about like ceasefire and peace as well.
Has anyone? I mean, there's going to be private, public, non-profit organizations contributing potentially to that package to help rebuild Ukraine, rebuild the economy. Has anyone actually committed any money to it at this point?
First and foremost, we have long-term commitment from the European Union, so that both monetary, so that we have a 90 billion loan that helps us to survive 2026 and 2027, and there is a plan to have a budget for Ukraine for within next multi-annual financial framework of the European Union for 2028, 2034. So that it's around 100 billion euros. So that's also then an anchor for the prosperity programs, both for macro-financial stability and also for seeding the private investments through different kind of funds that already are established. So that you know that we have Ukraine-US Recovery Investment Fund, URIF, so that which was born in the context of mineral deal with the United States, and also we have flagship fund, European flagship fund, which encourages private investments, and it was already deployed within Ukraine investment framework of the European Union. So we already have a framework that will attract private capital, and we see that there are already progresses on several projects in exploration, in real estate, and some other areas where business can happen here and now as well.
There's quite a lot of focus here, or renewed focus, on the potential for Ukraine to enter the European Union on some basis, and discussion around the European Union actually tearing up their normal process to make it conceivable that Ukraine could join on some basis next year. But part of that was for Ukraine to open those clusters. I think we probably don't want to go into the details of it, but I know Hungary was making that difficult. Has there been any progress on that?
You see, the complexity of your question shows that this is like a very complex knot of different streams, and this is literally what is going on. So they have a like path dependence of different tracks, so that the peace solution is based on the security pillar and prosperity pillar. Prosperity, so that the economic development of Ukraine is possible if we have three pillars: strong security commitments, so that's why they go together. Financial stability, so we need macro-financial stability and also support for maintaining Ukrainian army, since it's like one of the core elements of security guarantees as well. And the third element is a trusted and predictable environment, which is like can be certified by EU accession. And EU accession by itself is also a geopolitical element that consolidate the security guarantees by themselves. So that's why in this environment, we have several nuances in our EU accession path. So it remains to be a merit-based process, so that we are delivering our reforms and we receive EU accession. At the same time, we want to have a very clear commitment from the European Union for this all the security environment, that we have a precise date of our accession. So then it will be like mutual political commitment. And of course, we are thinking how we can speed up this process, how we can do something in parallel, what used to be done in sequence in previous accession for other states. And of course, we believe that the involvement of the United States and general peace environment will change position of those member states who are opposed. After all, you know that Prime Minister Orban always says that accession is directly related to the fact of war in Ukraine. So that's why if we are talking about accession as a part of peace solution, so it means that even in the logic of Prime Minister Orban, he should change his position.
You mentioned the situation in the cities, and I can say we have discussions with our own bureau and reporters working for Bloomberg in Kiev. Our bureau chief, Dasha Krasnoludskaya, who gave us the questions for this. I know she's sitting freezing. They can't use the bureau because it's so cold. Have you been able to really have good conversations about moving forward with a ceasefire, with an agreement, while everyone here has been talking about Greenland? I mean, how difficult has that been for you?
We are lucky that so that we have the smartest people in the gathered here. So that's why we can talk. We can talk and handle the conversation on different topics, not only on one. So that's why we managed, and all our partners managed to talk about Greenland and Ukraine. And today during Ukrainian breakfast, Mark Rutte mentioned that the NATO involvement into the Greenland solution, and he highlighted that Ukraine is a core element, since the core enemy for Europe and for NATO is Russia. So that's why there is no unfocus. Everyone is focused and is moving forward. And yesterday's speech of President Trump is as well was quite clear on this, that all topics have been covered properly. On situation in Ukraine, it is very close to the humanitarian catastrophe. So that's what says Daria and Volodymyr can describe that how cold it is. I think that we still can make some jokes on this, because I joke that out of free heat, water or electricity, you can choose two, or sometimes only one. Yeah, so that but if it will be like zero and permanently, it will be catastrophe. You cannot like survive in this, especially if you have frost like on -10, -15. And for us, this is a matter where Russia believes that it can force us to surrender in this situation, but the real reaction will be to bounce back. So that means that the people in Ukraine will definitely be of position that we cannot surrender, we cannot like stop fighting if Russia destroys our city.
But it is very effective for Russia in one way at least. It persuades many people, and certainly potentially many in Washington, that they are right to think that Russia is winning, even though I think you are making good. It seems like there's been a big increase in Russian casualties in the last couple of months. And on the battlefield, I think our understanding is that things have been going much better for Ukraine. But the overriding impression people have is of this enormous pressure on the Ukrainian population.
Let me disagree with you. So it might be sounds strange, but indeed we increased the number of losses for Russia. They lose, let's say, thousands of soldiers like killed like daily, and they really they burn the people like daily on the front line. What we see now is an attempt of Russia, I don't know, in romantic way or their sadistic understanding of history is just to use the very cold weather to punish civilian people. So it is not warfare. It's just really like war crimes, deliberate destruction of civilians, attacking of civilians, and they somehow believe that it can force us to change our position. It will be vice versa. We will survive. We have a lot of support. We encourage all energy companies to supply us equipment. Our energy companies repairing everything very fast with enormous speed. And I also receive some feedbacks from my children, and they say, okay, we now have electricity, now have water, and so on. It's just like popping up in different areas. So we will survive. We will go through this winter, but Ukrainians will know that everyone will witness the fact that Russia tried to kill literally everyone in Ukrainian cities.
But meanwhile, we have a situation, your president is about to talk to President Trump, but you have Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner going to Russia to talk to President Putin. Again, the Ukrainians not in the room. Do you have a sense, I mean, that is obviously a frustration, but do you have a sense of, they say they're 90% of the way there. How is that going to move? How is President Putin going to move?
We have a lot of people from corporate world here in Davos, yeah. So that's why I think that everyone will get an understanding that peace process is not a classical project management when you have like policy cycle planning and the clear results on the date that you planned with a little postponement and a little bigger budget, yeah. So this is like absolutely unique process. I'm happy that the United States are engaged into this process. They understand that this is an art, so that this is like very tailor-made or bespoke approach. We are working and engaged with them on like 24/7 on all elements, and we believe that these undertakings will result into the fact that Russians will be in trilateral negotiations and finding a solution that will be really strong, long-lasting, and bring prosperity and stability to Ukraine and Europe.
I know you have to go to your next meeting, so as a last question, and forgive me, Deputy Prime Minister, there's, I'm sure, a lot of sympathy for people here listening to you and talking about the experience of Ukrainians in cities. But as you know, there has also been some criticism from your European partners of Ukraine allowing men under age of 22 to cross the border. Germany and others have been concerned about that. Are you rethinking that?
So that nothing is ideal in our story from 2020 to 2024, and 2026, yeah. So that's like for these 4 years. Sorry for missing dates. So that's this decision. Yes, indeed, we got some remarks from some governments, and we are in the course of consideration on how to react to this fact. We are verifying figures and then different cases and so on. Indeed, this is a topic that is under discussion. So and maybe there will be some announcement later.
So you can see that you can recognize the concern and you'll respond to it.
We are very frank with our partners. So we discuss what we need, how they can help, how we can deliver reforms, people, and a lot of other things, logistics, trade. You heard about the tensions between farmers and so on. So there were a lot of different situations, but we managed to tackle all of them for these 4 years.
Deputy Prime Minister, thank you so much for your honest remarks. Thank you.